Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the S2E12 episode, the final one for this second season. And today I'm going to cover one of the more controversial aspects of Serbia's history, the independence of Kosovo and its effects after 17 years and what has caused to the Serbian society in the first place. Now, I think I mentioned that in one of my previous season or in these episodes as well prior to the S2E12, I mentioned that this entire clusterfuck of from pogrom in 2004 on the 17th of March 2004 all the way to the 17th of February 2008. I guess they love number 17 for some reason. Anyway, so when that happened, on the 17th of March of 2004, when the extreme pogrom has been done over the Serbs on Kosovo and Metohija, now it has caused quite a bit of stir, quite a bit of controversy, quite a bit the uproar, quite a bit the upset, I mean, and genuinely so. And there had been a lot of tapes and video proofs where the savages, if I'm going to call them like that, the savages themselves were removing the Orthodox crosses, and they were doing the most hideous, morbid things one can think of in his mind about what they had done to the graves and to the churches and to the entire atrocities that it has still not been that much addressed, if I may say so, 21 years after and a half. After 21 year and a half, the issue with pogrom is still, it's taken seriously, no doubt about it, but still at the end of the day, it's not that much, the emphasis of of the entire tragedy, which pogrom is a really tragedy thing that happened to the Serbs in Kosovo and Metohija. And the reason for it is because, according to the fake sources and to the fake people, allegedly, so hear me out, the main reason, the fundamental reason, the reason, is because the Serbs themselves, for no apparent reason, fundamentally, randomly, all of a sudden, without any reasons or just triggers, they just randomly decided to chase some Albanian kids, and those Albanian kids drowned in the lake. And the people have heard about it, they went mad, and the entire thing has been staged, to tell you the bitter truth. And the bitter truth is that they use that excuse to blame the Serbs and also to turn their opportunity for being a victim into a perfect political opportunity to wreak havoc on Kosovo and Metohija on the 17th of March 2004. Now, this argument that Serbs from some random reason just chased Albanian kids and Albanian kids drowned themselves, according to their sources. But I disagree, because my people is not functioning on some random premise. So that's one thing that has been pissing me off for a very long time, including implementing war in the 90s and this pogrom in 2004. So the entire story of the premise for the war in Czechoslovakia was that randomly, like Serbs, my people, Serbs just randomly decided to fucking shoot people in the head for no apparent reason, like the Muslim Serbs and the Catholic Serbs. They were just chilling out, like in Sarajevo or in some other cities in Czechoslovakia, I mean in Bosnia and Croatia, but Bosnia, let's take Bosnia. I wish. And they would just, they just fucking appear with AK-47s, they started shooting people. That's the main core, even though the reason for the war started on the controversial wedding of December of 1990. Apologies for missing a date, I think it's 1991. But in this case, a context when the main guy was killed at the wedding of his son, and that was the fuse that lighted the match for the war, because he was shot because, according to those Bosnian cocksuckers, it's because he wore probably a Serbian flag, because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me in the comments, I guess without any voting in the constitution or or any addressing of the issue, the elephant in the room, I guess even in the 1990 and 1991 you were not allowed to carry a Serbian flag on a Serbian wedding on a Serbian day. What? And now that's the original story, how the war started in Czechoslovakia. That was the reason for the shooting at the wedding. But the thing is that the other side of Izetbegović and Tudjman, they invented we were just gledali smo svoje mirbola, mi smo se tako odmarali i služili presvetloj Bosni kad su nam se srbočetnici teleportovali So what I said is that the Serbs just teleported out of nowhere and they started shooting people. And that's how the war started in Czechoslovakia. So you have two sides. I'm going to argue with someone. So you have two sides of the story. Now if you use logic and go to the left one, so somebody killing somebody because they wore a flag of their own country, the country they love, they're from, and they represent, and that was an issue in the 1990s. So the implication is very severe. It's because if that person had died over a flaga, if they died over that, that implies that this sentiment about Serbs themselves have been brewing in the early, mid, and late 80s. And maybe even before that, Ustasha cocksucker croaked on the 4th of May of 1980, the vampire. We have, the House of Flowers has to be scorched down to the fucking earth, man. There is no other solution. Now, back to the 2004, now it was once again the same proof and the same thing over and over. It's because randomly, ničim izazvani, they just randomly decided to drown Albanian kids in the lake. Out of nowhere, Serbs tend to do random shit, man. They just teleport, and Jokic teleported in NBA, now he is the best. Djokovic teleported in tennis, and now he is the best. Nikola Tesla teleported to United States, he was the best. Ivan Andrić just randomly decided to write and teleported to 1961 and won the Nobel Prize. Randomly, of course, everything is by coincidence. Coincidentally, just out of nowhere, coincidentally. The cows are flying coincidentally. Elon Musk is scamming people coincidentally. He is serving to the higher lords coincidentally. Ostoja Mijailović isn't sucking Vucic's cock or Sasha Kovacevic's cock accidentally. People die in car accident accidentally. I mean, it can happen for the cars. Don't get me wrong, it can happen, but to be random, nah. It's a chain of events that's caused to an accident. But anyway, this 2004 picture has stirred a lot of controversy, and the people outside of Kosovo were severely pissed, and the people wanted to go to Kosovo, and that was one of the opportunities to go to back with the Serbian army, and they were ready to go, but unfortunately, due to the Kumanov Sporazum, the traitor contract signed in 1998, if I'm not mistaken, whatever the fuck, it shouldn't have been signed. The Serbian army has to leave Kosovo and blah 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 and leave to the, to the other people and the other beasts in charge. Treacherous politics, because I just spoke with my friends yesterday on Slava, so it boils down to that. Of all the people that are mentally disabled to run politics, it's the Serbs who are brain dead to lead themselves and the people into something. Because if you look back at Sorabendi's history of 21st century, Jesus Christ, man, the terrible leadership has brought us to the dance, to this current situation as I'm filming this video. Now, fast forward, the scars and the trauma or the shell shock of pogrom from 2004 is still very fresh, but unfortunately during the Dosmanli era of those cocksuckers, the shift is now onto something else. Now the Dosmanlis themselves knew that they were in a heavy pickle about the pogrom, and the people will not let it go. Forget it, because after 1999, thank God, my people actually started to remember who is shooting them in the head and that they're actually Serbs, which is a kind of brink of hope for me. 26 years later, I'm still very happy that the bombing happened, because it restarted our Serbian gen and we started to fucking remember. Because if you tell Serbs they need to remember, they're going to forget, unfortunately. That's what I hate about my people. Sometimes we need like a Resident Evil thing to happen so we can be united, but united like a normal thing, like currently? No. Ask them why. Randomly. Anyway, on the 17th of February 2008, the Albanians have declared the independence of Kosovo. And now you're probably wondering what does this have to do with the people in Serbia. No worries, I'm getting into it. Just give me a second. That itself, the act itself, the recognition of the 17th of February 2008 has caused a lot of controversy. And now the people were 100 times pissed than in 2004 on the 17th of March. This has caused the inflammation of the US embassy, the people making go apeshit crazy in Belgrade and burning and scorching things down and just having heavy fights with the police, with Gendarmeria, with Interventna. You can mention like heavy cops barely constraining the wrath of the people, and now the Dosmelians are intentionally putting the fire out. They're always saying this diplomatic bullshit and violence is not a solution, and they keep saying violence is not a solution, but you can see that I'll give an example. The two tribes who are trying to kill each other over in the Middle East, the one tribe can drop like a 57 tons of bombs and just kill everybody, and that doesn't count. But God forbid if a Serb defends himself with AK-47, he's a genocidal maniac. You see the double standards always for my people. It's always the evil Serbochetniks. And now in 2008, so with this friction, the second Serbians themselves, the house Negroes of Serbia, they are like, yeah man, I know the independence happened, but life moves on, we have to move on, and things like that. So they were kind of waiting to celebrate themselves about the independence of Kosovo, but in it the patriots and the far right are getting severely triggered, and they are now looking a reason for a fight. And now Boris Glavic, like in between of the trying to join European Union, which will never happen, you have better chances of sending 50 millions to a certain country. But anyway, Glavic is now in the middle, like between the hammer and the shooting in the head, because now the Serbs, the people, are severely pissed. And the wreckage is happening in Belgrade, all in the downtown, everywhere in the areas of Belgrade. People are fucking triggered out of their fucking mind, which is allegedly so, because somebody just took your territory. They've been fighting for centuries, and just somebody took it after 34 years of hard work. Now, if you're wondering why 34 years, you can just denounce 2008 and minus 34, and you get 1974. The Constitution just let people live there. I'm sure nothing's going to happen bad. Anyway, yeah, but that's not the reason. In the 90s, nothing bad is going to... Yeah, but it's not like Yugoslavia is going to... Yeah. But it's not like Dosmanli are going to rule it... Yeah, but it's not like someone worse is going to come after Miloš. Yeah, you see the entire ironic picture that everything that the boomers themselves said in the past, it's not going to happen. It actually happened. So with this friction, the takeage of the Serbian holy territory, Sveta Zemlja, now it started very slowly, don't get me wrong. So basically what boils down to is that people themselves, they started to friction themselves from its own people. Now what do I mean by that? So I mean that in this case, a context, the people have started to create clans and they started to work against each other. And that Serbian division has now started to slowly seep into the Serbian lives. They now started to make clans and to have different agendas and interests and everything in between and out between. And in these 17 years, so I've seen clans after clans after clan, not political or velja nevolja, turning people into Krabby Patty burger. I mean by clans, if you have gone to high school, university in these 17 years or so, or you're about to go to university, I don't know, try to apply to FUDO so you can act with Miloš Bikovic. He's a terrible actor, but still. You're going to see that maybe at first year you won't be in the clans, but as the year are progressing themselves, you're going to see how people are starting to separate slowly, bit by bit, without telling you anything. Now, people themselves are probably going to say that has nothing to do with the independence of Kosovo. Oh, yes, it does. So, you see, we have considered, like, the Kosovo and Metohija has been the blueprint of the Serbian identity. So, something that we have sworn our souls upon, so we can going to protect it and keep it from the all evil in the world in general, which has happened on the 28th of June of 1389. Which with Lazar Hrebeljanović, Miloš Obilić, and all others gave their lives for that, for the word, for the Kosovo and Metohija. Now that same curse has been chasing us ever since, and since that happened in 2008, the friction started to show very briefly. It's not like earthquake, like comparison on scale, but I mean that the people themselves in Sorabendia, they are now starting to separate. Without even telling you, I'm sure in these 17 years you have seen people come and go faster than Volt and Glovo delivery giving you food back and forth. Imagine the same process. So, and the people and the clans have started to dissent from each other. And even to this day, as I'm making this video, people themselves, the Serbs themselves, are going to say that has nothing to do with independence of Kosovo, because they just think it only revolves around political context. But it's not. Actually, this has caused a stir or tectonic plates to happen, to just to have it and to see that people have started to become distant, autogeny, different from each other, even worse than in Slavia or something like that. But the point is that in this context now you see throughout the coming years now the patriotism and the nationalism has been very put either in the laughing stock or not taken very seriously, because Šešelj was still doing his job and making the word nationalism, patriotism, or radical disgusting to the people. And as he's currently wasting oxygen in Belgrade in his Dedinje apartment, wherever the fuck that hog lives, he did his job very perfectly to a T, to an end, as a UDBA member. UDBA is like a Serbian KGB from Tamil, but still very efficient in their doings. So Šešelj has managed to dissent Serbs from the patriotism and nationalism, because Šešelj's job was to make us disgust everything that has to do with that love for the country. But he has taken it up a notch. He has pretended for all these years that he wants to do something in the interest of great Serbia, but actually he was a communist, and communists pretended for these so many years that he is like a favor, that he loves his own country, right? Anyway, and you see that I'm not disputing his intelligence, he is very smart, but his personality is very stinky, like a camel stinky, and he has chosen to be like that ever since in the 90s, when he was trying to be some motivational TED speaker, TED talk guy, telling Serbs to die for the ideals, while his fat ass was in the background and taking paychecks. Now, what people have been trying to see, and I'm not going to shy away from my bad choices, I'm not the perfect political lover. I used to believe that the hog is going to save us in 2008 next to Glavic, but that didn't happen. I was deceived, and at least I can act myself and see myself in the mirror and say, you were an idiot, you were fooled, you were deceived. And that's never going to happen again. So everyone else currently in the political climate themselves, they're all working for Alhamdulillah. All of them, aside and besides the students. The students are still fighting for all the ways that it is possible to save this country, if this country can be salvaged. If this country can be saved, which it's a big question mark, but at the end of the day, the students are only who are working against the entire overall charade of the system. Everyone else, the politicians, the opposition is working for the Alhamdulillah, and everyone else is working for Alhamdulillah. So it's a very Sisyphean job for the students to try to restore the order in this country. But I'm not going to be a pessimist, I'm not going to be Arthur Schopenhauer. After last night's defeat, I've kind of started to see things clearly, and to give you the example. So after the independence of Kosovo, people have started to less speak with each other, and you have seen the descent being slow, and you're able to see that the people are no longer close, and that they no longer have those empathy or anything of that nature or in common. They have only interest at heart. I'll give an example. As you're going to the gym, or if you're making a coffee, a lunch, a breakfast, a dinner, a supper, a dessert, or anything of that nature, think about it. So how many people have stopped calling you? Have stopped calling you ever since you stopped calling first? 10, 15, 20, exactly. So the point is that you have to understand that this descent within the Serbian territory has been intentional and has caused a lot of separation, and the people are the same separate as the people on Kosovo and Metohija. They're taken and sold by somebody else, betrayed ever since this 1974 and even before maybe. But they already know the truth, it's just they don't want to admit it. And now, in this case, the context now, the people will probably not get along amongst themselves ever again, because due to this dissent, due to this independence of Kosovo that was declared on 17th of February 2008, the people have taken upon themselves, without telling anybody or anyone, that they are going to separate. It's like the same thing that happened on that same very morning on the 17th of February 2008, and people love to do that as well. I'll give an example. So if you do your flashback in your life, and you see that the people distance themselves from you without ever saying you utter syllable or word or a sentence, well, that's the same principle. And with this independence now, if the independence of Kosovo is still active and still going on, it still causes on psychological level the frictions, because people unconsciously are saying to themselves, hey man, if this can separate from each other, from our holy territory, I can do that as well. But they won't tell you that to you. They're going to tell to themselves that in their mind, silently, in their apartment, in their house, in the coffee shop, whatever they think they do. And you can see that even gastarbeiters themselves from Sorabende, when they live in the Adolf Hitler country of Germania, they see when they come here in Sorabendia, they can have like money all they want, but they can see that the people are not the same people anymore, and that everything has shifted, and we're just pretending it has not shifted for some schizophrenic counter-slavery reason. And now this descent, as currently, is still going on, and the Alhamdulillah has sold his own people for burgers and joints, to the Albanians, which it is what it is. But the point is that with this separation, you can see the entire map, the entire picture, the entire geopolitical plan that stems from Kosovo all the way to Subotica, and you're going to see the exact same scenario, the exact same people, the exact same reason, and the exact same sentences, and the exact same behavior. Because the independence the independence has cost us unity. And but to tell you the bitter truth, it's as if we were close to being united in early 2000s, kind of. I'm not counting the assassination of Djindjic on the 12th of March 2003. No, I'm talking about that. We were close, but still not in vicinity or proximity of the city called Unity. Over there, but with independence, we have changed our directive, and now we're going into some headless direction without any putukas, without any signs or anything. We're just driving endlessly somewhere we don't even know where the fuck we want to be in the first place. And it's really terrible when you're the driver and you're driving yourself in the distance somewhere you don't even fucking know where you're going to go in the first place. Like, you don't have no idea which city you're going to go, which village, which store, which burger joint, which restaurant, tavern, bar, coffee shop. You don't know. And that's what we have been doing for the past 17 years. We have been driving endlessly on a loop without having any concrete plan in action to go to a specific desired destination. All of us want to go back to Kosovo and Metohija, but it's not on the map anymore. It has been taken, and we have been fighting amongst themselves for the 17 years, especially the second Serbians love to say that it's over and we have to let it go. But we have to understand that it's controversial for me, but here's my political attitude. Kosovo should be independent until we unite. If we don't unite, it doesn't mean shit if you want to regain the Holy Land. Because God is going to see that we are not united, we are not honest, and we only see interest and money. If we become Jewish rabbis who are going to crucify Christ, then why the fuck would you need Holy Land in the first place? So, if we are not united, I keep saying that, I mentioned that main topic in the partisan division episode. If we as Serbs do not unite now, not tomorrow, not 50 years from now, not 25 years from now, 100 years from now, 500 years from now, if we don't do it now in this upcoming decade, which is December 20th, 2025, fucking Saturday, almost 1 p.m., you have to understand, now counts. It doesn't count for tomorrow. Tomorrow maybe it never comes. Like he said to Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed, there is no tomorrow. And God keeps telling us, there is no tomorrow. If we are not united, guys, the only thing we can do is buy pen and give them Kosovo, and that's it. If we are not united, listen, if we are not united, the entire wearing t-shirts of saying something is our heart, but why would you say it's your heart when it beats for somebody else and not for you? Think about it. So this dissent that has been going for the 17 years and nobody is too brave to address it, and now people are aware. I'm not saying that it's going to be a long video. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that if we are pretending it didn't happen, that it's going to be solved by random chance or by somebody else or by Russians. That's not going to happen. What is going to transpire is that we keep delaying the unity for some guy that should be Christ's disciple. I guess the fault with my people is this: they keep searching when it comes to politics and somebody to lead them, because if we have leaders, they're usually brain dead people that looking for the interests for themselves, not people. They need a guy in politics. Now hear me what Serbs want. Hear me out. Serbs want a guy that's Christ's disciple, has never sinned, has never made a mistake, has never made a wrong turn when driving, has never cussed at anyone, has never insulted anyone, has never offended anyone, has never, thought a single bad thought like Karađo said in Cursed Alley by Ivo Andrić. In Prokutavlia. There is no innocent people, you have to understand. But if you prefer to wait for the crisis people to save you, you're fucking delusional, Bucky. That's not gonna happen. You have to do it yourself, and that's why we have been avoiding this responsibility for unity. If we are not united, we guys are fucked. And to tell you another controversial statement from me, and take it with a very great seriousness, if we lose Srpska, and we give it away the same way we betrayed him in Knin, like like a TV show Fortress, Tvrđava shows, then we are fucked again. And if they fall, GG. That's the end of the Serbian identity, the end of the Serbian people, and the end of the entire Serbian history. If they fall, God forbid, if Republika Srpska falls, you can just click on your mouse, right click, and where is the Serbian identity history, just click delete, and that's it. Because that's going to transpire if we are not united. The entire fight for identity, the entire struggle that we have given skeletons after skeletons, after blood after blood after blood after blood, the territory and everything in between of that. And if you're still not taking it seriously, then don't be angry if Alhamdulillah has given the Holy Land to somebody else for free when they have everything that's considered a foreign territory. And don't be angry if you hear a Chinese language in Bor, because Bor is already given to them. The occupation of your territory is your responsibility, my Serbian nigga. The freedom has to be earned. Freedom has to be fought. Freedom has to be earned, my friend. And I'll give you one of my favorite quotes from Jean-Paul Sartre's Filthy Hands. Put revolucije odereru nije posut cvećem. You have to think about it. Think about it. In our Serbian history, how many times something has been solved in a diplomatic fashion that has granted us a peace for a XY time without bloodshed? How many kings have died? How many revolutions started? How many assassinations of the king happened? And what for? Because the people have been pissed. There had been examples where the interest of others came into play for a king to be assassinated, as you know that. Like, I get to say even the assassination of Knez Mihajlov 1868 at Košutnjak, even if he avoided his European tendencies towards the West and trying to assimilate, I'm not saying assimilate, but I mean in a fashion of like trying for Serbs to be Westerners, that wouldn't have mattered because he was dating a cousin. And that sort of relationship in Sorabendia, even back then in 1868, was... Anyway, he would have died anyway, so that's the problem. And I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it once again. Either whoever wants to make a change in Sorabendia has to understand two things. For this path that we're currently on, either you want to go with diplomacy and keep waiting for the election, the democratic, where you can remove Alhamdulillah. But there is another path which is more riskier and more controversial. And I'm just going to show this. You should get the picture. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this long rant and me expressing my Serbian Sorabendia history knowledge. But the Serbs have always been the greatest enemies to themselves. Serbs have been the greatest Ustaša, Balija, Šiptar, Slovenac, anything in between that we hate on the other people, but internally it's been us who have betrayed ourselves the most in history. We don't need enemies. My Serbian, and we don't need no more Vatican or West or Russians or anyone. We don't need outside enemies. We are the worst enemies ourselves. Read history and you'll see it. Even in Greek, Vienna, Berlin history, you're going to see the greatest enemies to the Serbs have been ourselves. Sad story, bro. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this channel. My name is Mr. Cat. But in this case, context, thank you once again. It has been a pleasure talking with you and exchanging my opinions. This was S2E12. Before I finish this video, just wanted to wish you happy holidays, and I will start with my third season. I will start my third season in a month from now, as I'm currently filming this video. Until then, let us unite, my retarded Serbs. It's fucking time. It's high time that we unite. No longer delayment. Unity or death. Freedom or death. Remember Chicha Draža's words. Freedom or death. Until then, Christ is King. Become straight edge. Fuck the government and fuck Alhamdulillah. And think about it. We have fought our freedom with blood for so many centuries. And let me ask you this before I finish this video. What makes you think this time is going to be different?